Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of GABRIELA South Bay's weekly news and updates podcast. I'm your host, Gabby, chairperson of GABRIELA South Bay. Thank you for tuning in. In this week's news, we go over how a local nonprofit, the Filipino Migrant Center, has helped us build our leadership as community leaders in GAB, how U.S. Filipinos are proactively responding to the possible rigging of the Philippine midterm elections, and the resistance of Indigenous Cordillera peoples against dam infrastructure projects that displace their communities and destroy their ancestral land. This past weekend, GABRIELA South Bay held a unity meeting in Carson. We discussed our connection with a local nonprofit called the Filipino Migrant Center, or FMC for short. We organize with FMC to serve the needs of low-income, working-class migrant Filipinos here in Southern California. Their services have aided local Filipino seniors, youth, community organizers, and workers, especially victims of trafficking. This year, FMC wants to fundraise $45,000 in order to hire 2 full-time community organizers, one for youth and one for workers. As GAB, we talked about how we were going to work together to fundraise, especially after hearing about how FMC had changed our lives and developed our leadership.
I went to Carson High for my high school and I got introduced to the Filipino English teacher there, and we call her Miss J. And Miss J is part of FMC, and they started a youth program at Carson High called Filipinos Reaching for Education and Empowerment. And from there, we learn about the different ways we could go to college and being a leader on ourselves. Also, through FMC, I was able to navigate my life better because when I was still in high school, I was really planning on entering the military because I thought that that's the only way to go to college. But through FMC's youth program, we learned different ways on how to go to college. I learned about the free first year in community college, and I learned about FAFSA. And they helped me fill up my FAFSA, and through that, I was able to go to college and not be stuck in the military, even though I don't want to be in the military. And now that I'm in college, I'm still continuing with working with FMC because every time I'm working with FMC, I feel like I'm growing because I meet new people and I learn from their experiences about their lives and their struggles.
Please help us celebrate FMC's service to the Filipino community by attending the 9th Annual Gala. Justice has no borders. Your tax-deductible donation to FMC would go towards supporting their mission of advocating and providing services and programs for Filipino immigrants and migrants here in Southern California. On May 6th, Malaya Movement members staged nationwide protests and phoned Philippine consulates and embassies to demand that the Duterte regime ensures clean and honest elections in the Philippines this coming May 13th. Countless registered overseas Filipino voters are asking the Department of Foreign Affairs in the Philippines to explain why they had not received their ballots in a timely manner. Since 1 in 10 Filipinos live overseas, this is a significant voting population. Along with reports of defective SD cards in the vote counting machines and broken ballot seals in Manila, the Malaya Movement fears that the Duterte regime plans to rig the senatorial elections in favor of his candidates. As mentioned in our last podcast, the Philippine Senate is the last remaining political body that Duterte currently doesn't control. If his candidates win, he'll remove the last barrier of opposition to his attempts to pass countless laws, policies, and constitutional changes to remove term limits and restrictions on foreign ownership of Philippine resources, land, and properties. We urge the Filipino people to reject the Duterte regime through the ballot. Reject his hand-selected candidates who echo the traitorous, anti-people, anti-women, and anti-poor politics. Vote in progressive politicians. Let's turn this upcoming midterm election into a mass protest against Duterte's tyranny.
Hello, Kasamas. This is Deandra with this week's news recap. And for this Mother's Day edition of the news recap, we will be paying homage to Mother Earth by highlighting the work of Indigenous rights defenders in the Cordillera region in Luzon. This week in Baguio City, Indigenous peoples and activists stormed a meeting on the controversial CHICO River Dam project. The advocacy group demanded that the CHICO River project be halted because proper consent for the project was not obtained from local Indigenous communities, including the Ifugao and Kalinga peoples. For context, the CHICO River Dam project is a proposed electric power generation project on the island of Luzon that has been resisted by local Indigenous groups for 3 decades. The project threatens the sovereignty and livelihood of Indigenous communities throughout the region, and after community advocacy efforts and even the murders of several project opposition leaders, the project has been shelved since the Marcos era. Recently, the CHICO River Dam project has been reanimated by Duterte's Build, Build, Build campaign. And in classic Build, Build, Build campaign fashion, the Duterte administration secured a high-interest loan from China to complete the project, complete with Chinese contractors and Chinese workers. Across the Philippines, similar Build, Build, Build programs have been put into motion with the help of Chinese loans, including the Kaliwa Dam project near Manila, which has fetched a loan of $211 million. On Thursday, Nery Colmenares of the Makabayan Party filed a petition before the Supreme Court urging them to declare the Kaliwa loan illegal and void. Whether or not the Philippine government does its part to protect Indigenous peoples and ancestral lands, the work of Indigenous communities and environmental activists has halted the progress on the CHICO River Dam project for now. Even if the dam projects are never built, the Duterte administration will have to contend with paying back the high-interest Chinese loans. If the Philippine government defaults on these loans, it is possible that they could be sued by their creditor, putting the Philippines in even more of an economically and politically precarious situation.
Thank you once again for tuning in to our GABRIELA South Bay weekly news podcast. We hope to continue highlighting the ongoing news, victories, and campaign updates of the progressive Philippine movement here in the US and back home in the Philippines. Please like, share with your friends and family, subscribe to our channel or page for more updates. As always, we in Gabriela welcome anyone in the community to join our movement for national liberation in the Philippines. Stay tuned for our special Mother's Day podcast tomorrow.